Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wisdom Seeker Live podcast. Glad to have you here with us this Monday morning. Look forward to spending the next 30 minutes to an hour with you as we discuss about staying connected. We like to remind everyone when you join us, be sure and let us know where you're joining from. And also, we look forward to your comments and your questions to join in and engage, because your involvement makes the time worthwhile. And when you engage and involve, we manage to gain a lot more wisdom with each other. Reminder of how we view wisdom. Wisdom is a journey or a process that we choose to be on. And the first step in that journey is related to gaining knowledge. Sometimes we do so informally, sometimes formally, sometimes just by living, and other times very purposeful. And just a reminder, that's the first step. Knowledge is great as a first step, but it's not the end. And it's also not where our power lies. Power lies in the process of growing and growing into wisdom. And the next step in that process is to gain understanding. And understanding is another way of saying experience. As we begin to take the knowledge that we have gained, however we've gained it, and we begin to make it a part of our lives, we begin to apply it, we begin to use it, and taking those things and putting them together to use them in a productive way, hopefully in a positive way, and then continuing to grow in that regard. The next step, which is the most critical step and is a choice that we have to make and need to make so that we truly gain wisdom, is to see things from a much larger picture. See things outside of ourselves, see how what we do, what we say, the choices we make affect others, and how what they do affects us. And that's when we begin to move into gaining wisdom, the insight into a bigger picture, a bigger world, but not losing sight of the world right around us as well. All of that is part of getting a wisdom perspective. And for those of us that are of a spiritual bent, the way we like to express it is that we are seeing things through God's eyes. Again, seeing things in such a way that it is not just about us. And that's when we begin to gain wisdom. And that's when we are able to make better choices than just based on knowledge and experience. And that's what helps us also, I believe, gain common sense, as we call it, or discernment, because when we begin to gain the wisdom, those are a natural byproduct of that wisdom. So welcome, Rick. Welcome, Rosemary. Always good to see you guys. Glad that you're with us, and appreciate the effort, especially Rosemary being late in the evening. So staying connected, on social media, LinkedIn, other social media platforms, we work hard to gain connections, and that's fine. That's great. The challenge is that once we are connected with people, whether it's virtual, whether it's in real life, we need to maintain those connections. And that's where I think a lot of people have lost the perspective and or lack maybe the wisdom that will help to maintain those relationships. Welcome, Dr. Vimla. Glad to have you today. So really consider about not just getting connected, but staying connected. When I was thinking about this, I had a couple of different thoughts that came to mind. And by the way, please feel free to comment or ask questions or engage in discussion on this, because again, that's how we grow together and we gain wisdom together. One of the things that come to mind is an old ad campaign going back years ago with AT&T, and they were promoting long distance services. And the long distance services, the way they promoted it was with a byline, and the byline was reach out and touch someone. And of course, at that point, the primary means to reach out and touch someone was via phone. We at that point didn't have the social media, the broad use of the web, things like that. And so they were encouraging people to contact people they know through the use of the phone. So that was kind of a spark for that. The other is something that I have found and that I do on a fairly regular basis. It's not necessarily at this point a scheduled basis, but more about when I have someone come to mind, someone get on my heart. And for those of us, again, spiritually oriented, I feel led that I need to reach out to people that I'm connected with. And so I encourage that we consider that is a great opportunity. And there is a reason why these people come to mind when they do. And what I have found is when I reach out, usually just a simple note in a message form, either through text or direct message in LinkedIn or whatever, and just send a note, let somebody know that I'm thinking about them and they've come to my mind and heart, and that I just let them know that along with thinking about them, I'm praying for them. Don't know specifically what their needs are, but I always just pray that they'll be blessed and that they will be encouraged and grow. And what's been fascinating to me as I've gone through this process, how many times when I've reached out to people that I don't necessarily contact every day and may not have even contacted directly for a while, that when I do this, more times than not, people say, your timing couldn't be better and the need couldn't be greater. And it becomes a time of encouragement, support, just to know that someone is out there, cares, and is concerned. And staying connected is such an important part of what we need to do. Now, there are a number of us that have a lot of LinkedIn connections, and the practicality of reaching out to every one of them is not very big, but reaching out to people that we've engaged with or that we desire to engage with in order to stay connected is such a valuable piece of what we do. Welcome, Jeremy. Glad to have you. It's been a while, brother. Glad to see you out there. And so what I want to encourage us to do is, first of all, in our wisdom journey, part of wisdom is an awareness of more than just the immediate, more than just day to day. And it's also causes us to be more aware of people and sensitive to those people and their needs, and hopefully sensitive to our own spirits to know even when we do not have an official contact or understanding from someone, that we can really understand that they might have need for encouragement. They may have a challenge in their life and they need that encouragement. Plus, we all need to know that there are people in our lives that we can count on that are out there. So staying connected. And what I'm hoping is that you will share ways that you have been able to stay connected and share stories about how that outreach and contact went. So some people, and I think this has got some validity, will even schedule a purposeful contact out to people in their network on a regular basis. Maybe only do a note to 3 or 4 people, 5 people in a given day, just to say, I'm thinking about you. I know you're out there, and that, like all of us, you struggle, or that you're celebrating some kind of victory, whatever. But that's so valuable, not only for them, but for us. We have need to reach out to others and know that we are connected. And one of the challenges that we face, excuse me, my nose is itching this morning. We have challenges and need to be connected and stay connected. And with virtual networking, it's a two-edged sword. Okay, it is harder to connect virtually because you lack the presence of time and physical being. The other side of that, though, is through virtual networking, we're able to connect and network with people that we would not otherwise connect and network with. Thank you, Dr. Vimla. Appreciate your support of the comments, and hope that you guys will share your thoughts. Excuse me. And we've got to work on those relationships, because at the end of the day, anything we do in networking, social media, work, leadership, any of those areas, the relationships that we develop and nurture along the way are so critical to the success of those in our network and to ourselves. And that is such a important principle that we understand and that we live with and that we make a priority. And so look at many ways to connect with people. To stay connected. Email. We have lots of our people that we're connected with, including family, work, coworkers, colleagues, whoever, and we have email. Just take and drop an email note. Doesn't have to be elaborate, doesn't have to be fancy, just a note saying, hey, been thinking about you, you've been on my mind, and wanted to let you know I'm sending good thoughts your way, prayer, and want to encourage you. And even go so far as say, is there something that I might be able to do that could be helpful or encouraging or whatever? Rosemary has a comment. I still take time to send postcards to people who I love and work with. It's a wonderful feeling knowing that the postcards are not expected, but they are welcome. Yes, I know that postcards are another way, and they're still out there, and using those or a card, a greeting card, whatever, just drop a note. And yes, I think that it is even more encouraging and insightful, as you say, Rosemary, when it's unexpected. It means when I get notes and things like that from people unexpected, it seems extra powerful to me. And I've been on the receiving end of when those notes and comments come in, and the timing is really remarkable, a time when I need that encouragement. So I just want to really encourage everyone to figure out ways to do that. And if it's, you might even now, with the ability to be able to ship things and order things online, it may be that you feel led to send a gift, a way of encouragement. And again, it's so easy now to be able to do that. And so I really hope that we will begin to set it as a priority, not only to connect to people, get them as part of our network, but to work to encourage them. And be sure, sometimes we look at this wide network, broad network we have, and we lose sight of those immediately around us, our family, our friends, our colleagues. And there are ways to encourage them. Leaving a sticky note for someone in your family. Hope you're having a good day, thinking about you. Hope that the interview goes well. Hope that the project you're working on that you're trying to get finishes well. Just words of encouragement and a way to stay connected with these people. And it's more than just a maintaining. And the more we gain wisdom and insight, I believe the more aware that we will be of the people in our lives and our networks and the potential for ways to encourage them and the timing to do so. Rick makes a comment, great advice, stay connected. A minute of your time can be priceless to someone in need. And that is so true. And what's really fascinating to me is the times that I do this without fail, at least one of the people that I reach out to will say, I needed that. I needed this encouragement. I needed a kind note because I'm struggling right now with something, whatever that something is. And it just is remarkable. And I've never had anyone come back and say, hey, leave me alone. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want you to bother me. I think most of us need that encouragement on a regular basis, and especially at times. And that's where having wisdom and insight into our lives and into the lives of others helps us to be able to be timely even in that process. Jeremy makes comments, important to stay connected even when expanding our professional network, just like in business. If we want to succeed, we need to continue to nurture our investments, which also include our connections. Yes, if we are developing and growing our network, part of that is to grow the relationship. You know, one of the frustrations I have is the number of people on LinkedIn, other social media, that connect, and then their primary focus of that connection is to immediately want to prospect. And I appreciate that. And I know that there is scaling, and I know there are digital components to all that. And I appreciate that. But for me, and based on a lot of feedback I've had over the years, especially on LinkedIn, many people are very put off by that. What they would rather do is have that relationship first. And from the basis of that relationship, then make decisions in regards to any kind of transaction that we might have, and to have a different basis for making those choices. And the need for that is just so important to most all of us. We would rather make those choices with people that we are related to, not just a stranger. And what's interesting to even evidence that further is now, before we go to a brick and mortar store, quite often we will check out ahead of time what's going on and what we're working with and dealing with ahead of time. We will start relating before we ever get there. And the value of that relationship is so key. Rick reminds us of something he talked about in one of our other podcasts, and that is we call them 2 a.m. friends, or Rick coined that, to my knowledge anyway. And the 2 a.m. friend is that person that we know that is there even at odd times and hours of the day. And very important to be that um, person, not just to have those people in our lives, but to be that person for other people. And knowing that is so critical, because when we have need, illness, family struggles, work struggles, they're not always during the daytime when it's convenient and easy. They are at times where it is not during the day, whatever convenient times. And knowing that there are people that if we need to, we can reach out and connect with them and have them there as encouragement. So not only is it nice to have 2 a.m. friends, it is good to be a 2 a.m. friend. And let's see. Dr. Vimla makes a comment. I used to call my friends and family just to inquire about well-being, as I love to hear their voices. Certainly. And now with virtual capability, video connection, Zoom, even video on LinkedIn, Facebook, there are so many ways that we can reach out and be a part and engage. And so often we think we need an official reason to do that. We don't. What we need is just a heart that is towards that person and the willingness to be aware, attuned, and respond. I think part of the challenge we face is that we don't respond to those instincts, to those promptings, to those movement within our heart, within our mind, within our spirit. And so I encourage us all as a wisdom seeker that we need to be sensitive. We need to use the wisdom we've gained to consider and have insight and discernment about these situations. And I like the conversation. And hey, maybe this is something we should incorporate as wisdom seekers, that we commit to one another as part of the wisdom seekers group to be 2 a.m. friends for each other. Maybe we should start a little bit of a campaign. In fact, I can see a good post coming out of this about being a 2 a.m. friend. And many of us really, really need those people in our lives. And we need to be that for others. It's really interesting that as we begin to experience struggle with our connections, with our family, our friends, our colleagues, our network on social media, when we understand the struggle and we walk through that struggle with them, then our connection deepens. And I believe that part of that process is also connecting and engaging and interacting real time, and where possible in presence of each other. And I know of a recent example of this that I have been working with the International Institute of Influencers and worked with people in the organization for a year or so, or more actually, virtually. And it's great. We have we made connection, we developed friendships, but when a number of us were able to gather together in one location, happened to be in Delhi, India, for an event, those connections deepened to the point that we moved from being collegial, being colleagues, and all to being like family. And when we do that, it's such a value. And so I encourage all of us to make it a priority to stay connected. And how you do that varies. and you know different ways that you stay connected and what's best for you in a given relationship. Or as you seek wisdom, we seek wisdom in relationships. And when we seek that wisdom in those relationships, we begin to gain insight in how to encourage those people. One of the concepts here that comes into play, and I was actually thinking about this in the last couple of days, is how we express love to people. Because ultimately, loving one another is a core value that we are all created to do and be, and that is to love each other, and not just based on other things other than we're all humans and we're all created with great value by our God. And so really learn how to express that love. And one of the ways that is helpful is through concepts such as love languages. Understand about people's love languages, because some people, a note to someone, the words of encouragement may be it. A simple gift may be their way of expressing and sharing love. Another is physical touch, being present, a hug, a handshake, and so on. But part of staying connected is understanding that about the people that we're connected with. And if you don't know what that is for each person, then learn about it. Gain that insight. That's part of staying connected and being related to each other. Such a key part of those relationships. Yeah, Dr. Vimla, I agree that that time in India was just very much cherished moments, a special time of connecting. So staying connected, don't let it be an accident. Don't wait and reconnect or maintain those connections until it's too late. One of the regrets that many of us face over time is that we end up we lose people in our lives, and one of the big regrets is I hadn't spoken to them. I hadn't told them that I love them, hadn't encouraged them, hadn't had coffee with them, whatever. And so as we network, as we connect and want to grow those connections and stay connected, it is such an important part to invest. And it doesn't have to be very expensive, complicated, time consuming. It doesn't take long to reach out to the people we're connected with. Again, a simple note. We have so many ways now. Dr. Vimla, I believe it was, talked about, or was it Rosemary talking about sending postcards? It's still an option. The Postal Service still delivers mail all over the world. So take advantage of those opportunities. And for some people, that is much more meaningful than an email or a direct message or whatever. Some, it's a phone call. Just be aware, make it a priority to help stay connected with those that you said, hey, we are connected and I acknowledge that, then behave in accordance with it. Rosemary makes a comment. A group of people I work with in varied parts of the world have a sudden gathering, usually on a Friday night. We have pizza and talk over Zoom. We rarely discuss work. It is normally about just what is happening in our personal lives. Good idea. In fact, during COVID, people go, how do you have dinner over Zoom? It really works pretty well, and it can be enjoyable. We even went so far as to play games with people that we weren't able to be physically present with over Zoom. Get creative. Take those times to be spending time with those that we know and love and miss. And so, yeah, that's a great idea, Rosemary. Have a virtual live meeting with people. And by doing that, you can be in connection with people from all over and be very effective. Welcome, Lydia. Glad to have you here. Lydia makes a comment, says, it's the heart that counts, it's not the value of the gifts. So true. It doesn't, again, we think sometimes that we've got to make this hard, that in order to be effective, we got to spend money or take lots and lots of time or whatever. And it really doesn't require that. Most people aren't looking for that even. There are times, certainly, that we need to be willing to invest invest our resources into people, and it may be in a big way, but it doesn't have to be a big deal on a regular basis. It can just be that thoughtful, heartfelt connection, outreach, whatever that looks like, to be able to help others. And so just encourage us all to make that a priority. And as we grow in wisdom in our relationships as well, that becomes more natural, more effective. Dr. Vemla says, yes, we should stay connected through mind, heart, and soul together. And by the way, one of the things that you need to consider is that these connections and relationships, if they are only based in physical presence or on surface things, then that relationship's going to be very limited. And I know that we can't have deep, heartfelt relationships with everyone, but the ones that we do have those relationships with, we need to make it a high priority to encourage and nurture those relationships. Again, we need it as much as anyone else. And the more we start doing that with the people that we encounter, we're engaged in, we're connected with, then, by the way, the principle of sowing and reaping, if we're sowing that kind of care, concern, and connectedness with others, they're going to return that back to us, whether it's them or someone else. And it's all part of being a part of a bigger group, a bigger organization, and ultimately being human and being a part of humanity. Lydia comments, our time and presence are more precious and valuable. Yes, we become such a material-based world, and that's unfortunate because material things are fine. We all like to be comfortable. We all like to have creature comforts and conveniences, and that's fine. Kept in the right perspective, it's great. But our greatest value is in investing of ourselves, and especially our time. It's an interesting thing. You can lose money and regain it. You can lose things and get others. And most everything falls in that category. The one exception is time. Once our time has been spent, it is gone. Now, if we spend it well, or should we say invest it, then it brings returns back to us in ways quite often that we don't even expect. But if we do it well, such as working with our connections and staying connected well, the paybacks, the return on investment is very remarkable. It may not be immediate. It may take time for that return to occur, but it is truly remarkable, to the point, by the way, a good tip, I believe, maybe a wisdom nugget for us to take away, is when we are discouraged and in need because of our circumstances, quite often one of the best things we can do to for ourselves is to reach out and be an encouragement to others, because at that point we're utilizing the principle of sowing and reaping, or in some cultures, law of attraction. We do those things, then we will have return of that blessing back to us, and it becomes an encouragement to us as well. And so really such a value in investing in our connections, the people we are related to, and building those relationships further and keeping them alive, because relationships aren't static. Relationships take time, and if they're not growing, generally speaking, they're deteriorating, much like the way it is in life. Let's see, Lydia makes an additional comment. Keep them in prayer. Sometimes we'll receive promptings from our intuition of their needs. Oh, that is so true, Lydia. There have been many times that I have felt led to pray for someone and really give thought to them. But one of the things that I've learned to do is to not only present our prayers, giving our good thoughts, but letting people know that that's occurring. And I think that's a part that we're missing quite often. It took me a while at first to get comfortable reaching out without other explanation, to just say to people, been thinking about you, been praying for you, been on my heart and mind, because some people may say that's very random. Some people, depending on the situation, might react negatively. That is a possibility. Again, I have to say, so far, the worst thing that I've gotten is ignored, and rare. That's even very rare. Majority of the time, when I reach out and let somebody know I've been praying for them, that I've been thinking about them, more times than not, they respond and say, "I needed that. Thank you. Your timing was remarkable, because I'm going through something that no one knows about. And so I need that encouragement." And the other value of doing that sort of outreach, that sort of maintaining our connections, is that as that relationship grows, then we realize that there are people in our lives that maybe we didn't know that are our, as the phrase goes, 2 a.m. friends, people that are there that we were not aware. And just knowing that those people are there, for me anyway, maybe I'm peculiar. I don't think so. Not on this one anyway. Some would argue I'm peculiar in other ways, but on this one, I don't think I'm peculiar, in that just knowing that we have people in our lives that are those 2 a.m. friends, that if I'm ever in need, that I can reach out to them and they will respond with all they can to be able to be an encouragement, to be of support. Let's see here. Some good comments. Lydia says that God is the rewarder. We're not seeking for returns from that person. So true. So true. Very important that we don't reach out and encourage with the intent of getting back from that person. The good news is there is the promise that when we give, that it will be given back. It may not, probably not be that person, that it will be God using others in our lives in the time that we need it, in the way we need it. Let's see here. Rosemary comments, please remember to be a supporter for those who are always expected to be in place. Yes, it is a challenge, because those people that are 2 a.m. friends, we sometimes take for granted. Be sure, let them know how much they're appreciated. And there's another component to this that I have struggled with over the years, and finally begin to come to some terms with it. Those of us that are aware and like to give to others and support and encourage others sometimes are the most difficult person to be able to encourage and support, because we are so focused on others that when people come to us and want to do the same for us, we resist even. And I think we have to be careful, because sometimes I believe there's some pride and ego involved in that. It's also challenging because when people come to support and encourage us, it can be humbling, because we have to admit that we need it and that it is beneficial. But one of the things helped me truly get through this and not only be a giver, but also a receiver, is that the blessing that I get when I reach out to people, when I encourage them, is the same blessing those people uh, need. And if we are unwilling to receive their encouragement, their kind words, their whatever it is, their gift, and we resist that, we are robbing those people of a blessing that they could and should be able to receive as well. So be careful. Some of us that are really focused on being a giver, which is very admirable, but you and I who do this need to be very open to receiving as well. And by doing so, we allow blessings to flow back to people because of blessings they bring to us. Very important thing. And I do see that we have a problem in those areas sometimes. Jeremy makes a comment, some people may invest in education or acquiring new skills. However, when we invest in our connections and are sincere, we gain a better ROI and can open potential future opportunities that can only be presented to us by those who are connected with and assist on our collective journey. Such an important part. Focus in on growing in our journey, being connected during our journey, because along the way, part of the value and reason, even providential, that people are on the journey with us is for us to minister to them, us to encourage them, and for them to do the same. And it varies depending on life circumstances where we're at. It may be that we're on the giving side in that situation, and other times we're going to be on the receiving side. And there are times in our journey that we're on both sides of the issue, because as we walk through that journey with others. Glad to have you, Rosemary. I understand it's getting late. Thanks for taking time, staying up late with us, and we appreciate your thoughts and insights. So be blessed as well. And as again, think of ways to be able to keep connected with people. There's a point, if we don't make the effort, that we may technically be connected, but we have lost the connection. And one of the questions that I asked in our event description was about rapport. Part of what we are looking for in our network is rapport with people. And rapport is the connection that we have beyond the surface. And I think it's so important that with those people that come into our lives, and especially if they're there beyond just a short period, that we develop that rapport. And once you've developed a rapport with someone, that's a point in a relationship where even if you are not present with them or in contact with them for a period of time, when you have the opportunity, you come back around and you're able to connect, communicate, be present with them, that you are able to immediately reconnect and continue forward where you left off. So developing the rapport in our relationships is also critical. And in order to do that, we have to go beyond news, weather, and sports, or the latest gossip, whatever. That kind, it goes beyond that. It goes to a point of, one way I think of it, looking at it, is not just connecting in the physical world, not just even connecting mentally and emotionally, but including connecting on a spiritual level. When we can develop our connections like that and relate in that fashion, then the connections endure, because they begin to grow in such a way that they are functioning beyond circumstances, above circumstances. And that's where we really begin to have those deep connections. And I think that also helps us to be able to be sensitive. We're aware of those people in our lives and have those instincts or those leadings to reach out to them. And I think that's all part of the relationship we develop as we stay connected and be purposeful. So, again, part of our problem with our relationships is that we get connected and then we take them for granted. Oh, well, I'm connected with so and so or so and so, and those kinds of things, but we begin to take them for granted. And when we do that, we forget to make that effort, to send that note, to make that call, drop a postcard or a greeting card, whatever. When we stop doing those things, then that relationship withers. And so be sure that you're purposeful in staying connected. And we're all about getting lots and lots of connections, especially in social media. But the reality is that we need to invest in those relationships as we go forward. And your situation determines at times which of those take the highest priority. And certainly something that we all need wisdom about, how to prioritize those relationships, especially in terms of time investment and resource investment. But the key is that we make it a purposeful part of what we do and who we are. When we do that, then we continue to grow forward in our relationships, and we are able to stay connected with the people that we are engaged with and that we're walking the journey with. And that takes on many forms, whether we're walking a journey at work with people, our colleagues, our fellow workers, or whether it's family. We're on a journey with our family, and hopefully we are able to have healthy relations by making efforts to not just stay physically present. We spend a lot of time physically present with people and have very little connection. So make it a point to not just be physically present with people in our work, in our community, but to be present to the point that we're truly connected. And then once we are connected, to be purposeful in maintaining and developing that rapport with people, so that as we are journeying, we can be aware of those people in our lives, whether it's existing relationships or new ones, that we can journey and be sensitive and know how to maintain those connections. So my thoughts, my takeaways are, that we need to, first of all, make staying connected a priority. Second of all, we need to gain wisdom and insight into ourselves and others in that relationship so that we know good ways, best ways to stay connected. And another insight that gets overlooked is, as we are purposeful in staying connected, giving of ourselves to those in our life on the journey with us, don't forget to be receptive to receiving what others want to do for us and how they want to give to us. And don't whether it's pride, whether it's a sense of not wanting to admit that we could use that, whatever, don't rob others of the blessings of ministering or helping, giving to you along the journey as well. It can become a real obstacle to our relationships. So that's what I have for today, and I appreciate your comments for those that are participating. And those that watch this as a recording, I hope that you will share your insights and thoughts, because at the end of the day, Wisdom Seeker Live podcast is about us seeking together and sharing together wisdom that we find in our life journey, so that sometimes we can gain that wisdom without having to go through struggles and heartache to get there, or as the old saying goes, so that we don't have to go through the school of hard knocks every time, that we can gain that wisdom and insight from each other. Jeremy makes a comment. It's important to never take advantage of our connections, yet also be willing to reciprocate. Yeah, that is a tough one. And that's where we, again, I think, need a great deal of wisdom. How we relate and nurture those give and take without getting either too much on the giving side or too much on the taking side. And because if we're not careful, it is easy to take advantage of people that are close to us, that are giving to us without realizing it. So thank you for that, Jeremy. With that said, we're not quite an hour, but we have had a good time today to share and grow together. I hope and pray that this week that you will be able to be purposeful, not just this week, but beyond, but start quickly to stay connected with people. Reach out and be purposeful and hear your instincts, your discernment, your spiritual leadings to reach out to people so that you can be a blessing to them at a time when they need it, even if you don't understand about being that blessing. And being available to do that, I think, is very important to us as we go forward. So thanks, everyone. Have an amazing week. Be blessed. And I look forward to seeing you back next Monday morning, 8 o'clock a.m. We'll be here. If you have a topic that you want to share that we talk about as a something that we can seek wisdom and insight on, please share it. Always open to that. And then if you know of either yourself or others that could be a guest on with me, love to have you as well. So again, God bless. Take care. See you next week. Thanks, everyone.